Right, thanks everyone again for joining us for another WKS podcast interview. This time I'm with Trey from a band called Eyeball. How are you doing?
Great. Thanks for having me.
No worries, mate. No worries. So you're over in, was it North Carolina? Was that right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, a place called Raleigh. Is that right?
Yep.
Superb. Superb. Okay, would you like to start telling everybody a bit about yourself and sort of where it started for you musically?
Where it started for me was I had a aunt who had a barber shop at her house, and my cousin had a drum set in the barn behind there. And when I'd go over to get my hair cut, I'd go play the drums for half hour until they ran me off. And then it got to where I would stop by to get a haircut every other week, and they figured out it wasn't for the haircut; it was for the drums. And so my cousin sold them. My father bought them for a Christmas present, and I haven't stopped since. And that was
Okay.
around 14 years old, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So you've obviously been in a few bands since then. Um,
Oh
you know,
yeah.
so have you always sort of done the same vein of music, or has your music just totally changed?
No, at first I was into the metal scene and all that, and then I kind of figured that wasn't really leading me anywhere. It was just kind of repeating myself. My style got sort of stale. So, and then I discovered the Beatles, and it's like the world went from black and white to color, and I liked everything after that. They introduced me to classical, world music, rock and roll, ballads. It's all there.
Right.
And then after that, every band I had been in, when that band would break up or I'd quit or whatever the case may be, I always made a point to try and do something totally different. So I never really stayed in one genre much. A few I'd returned to, but it's led me to like now I'm doing psychedelic music, but I was doing like free jazz, and then did the cover band tribute thing for a while. Then rockabilly, punk, uh, almost everything except I never really got into country music, so I skipped that one for now.
Right. Right. Fair play. So you mentioned psychedelic. Is that the style of Eyeball at the moment then, is it?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We really like playing with sound effects, and some bands, all bands use them to some extent, but some don't seem to just really turn them up and go nuts with them. And we love all that stuff. Our guitarist and bassist has like this huge, insane pedal board, and I have a table beside my drums with a synthesizer with all these effects and a vocal processor. And our synth player has just a maddening amount of toys to play with, and so we have a lot of fun doing all that.
Superb. So what music's out there? Then, and where can people get hold of it then?
You can go to eyeball-band.com. Before 2020 hit, we had just released a digital 7-inch, which it was going to be a 7-inch record, but we ran into some budget issues, so we just released it digitally, but it was prepared to be a 7-inch, so why not call it a digital 7-inch? And then after that, we released an instrumental single that a lot of people tell us sounds sort of like something in a film, very soundtrack-esque and creepy and kind of weird, of course. So.
Wow. So lockdown wise then, I mean, obviously aside from the band not being able to get together, I assume, how did it affect you guys musically? Did you, I mean, because some people I've interviewed have told me that their writing just went through the roof. They couldn't stop writing because of it, because they had the time. Others just said it was totally flat, killed them. So what was it like for you?
It knocked us off course. We went into 2020 really strong. We were in talks with like 3 or 4 different music festivals. We were lined up to do that. Like I said, we just released the music I mentioned. We were in the studio recording, and mid-session, we had a few weeks lined up before the guitars and vocals were going to be done, and that whole session got shut down.
Mm.
So and we didn't see each other for 15 months. We didn't do any of this online stuff. We didn't really write. It just all kind of just, the band was put on hold, and it wasn't until a month ago or whatever that we finally started rehearsing again, and the dam burst. We're writing like crazy now, and
Right.
we scrapped everything we've been working on and just started over, sort of, because it didn't really seem right to just kind of pick up where we left off, because it seemed just kind of old, to
Right.
us.
Right.
So we just want to come back fresh and new, and some new ideas. And the music's turning out really dark. We sort of
Okay.
start writing and let the songs tell us what kind they want to be, and try not to force any ideas onto them.
Mm.
We just sort of get them out and see where they need to go. And this stuff's coming out really dark and sinister.
Wow.
And we're not like those kind of people, really. But it comes
It's
out
just
in
in
our
there
art.
and coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So what's the music scene, North Carolina and Raleigh, for psychedelic stuff? Is it quite popular or not at all? It's just
It's gotten popular. The psychedelic ranges from, you got your DJs, and then your sort of synthwave bands, and then you have bands like us that are more like rock bands using effects, and then the shoegaze thing is popular. So it's a wide range of psychedelic music. The more we play, the more we run into people. It's hard to find really really weird sort of bands to play with. And
okay.
how do you define weird? But it's like
Yeah.
sometimes we get stuck with on bills with like the jangly alternative bands, or just straight up metal bands, and we're neither. So
Right.
every now and then we do get on a bill with some really really good psych bands. So we're meeting more, but it's there's so much here, but there's not a whole lot of really strange bands.
Right.
So we're trying to fill that gap a little bit.
Okay.
Uh,
No, that's good. It's good. What other musicians do you admire then?
well, I mentioned the Beatles. Lisa Gerard, Dead Can Dance. Like, she's just, her voice just sends me to another dimension. Um, I really love the Bad Brains, Black Sabbath, Jane's Addiction. I could go on and on. As
Mm.
far as eyeball, maybe we do get compared to Pink Floyd sometimes, but I think a lot of psychedelic bands do, because Pink Floyd covered so much territory. It's hard not to step into some of that.
Yeah.
And Sonic Youth, we really like
Okay.
their guitar, how experimental and creative they are. They could take a
Okay.
guitar with like 2 strings on it that you can't tune to save your life, and they could make something really interesting with that.
Okay. Brilliant.
So we'd like that philosophy a lot.
Mm. So what do you think as a band then? What do you think, if you could open for any other band, who would you guys generally choose?
Ooh, maybe Hawkwind, because they're so
Mm.
legendary.
Mm.
Really like them. Wow, that's a good question. Uh, Radiohead would be a good one,
Mm.
and Portishead. I really like them.
Fantastic. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I don't know. I'd have to think on that. That's
Yeah.
a good one. Anyone who draws a large crowd, I'll say that.
Yeah. Fair play. Yeah. Yeah. So you as an artist yourself, putting aside eyeball, what's the best bit of advice you've ever been given musically?
Expect obstacles.
Okay.
Um, and no matter where you think you are in the timeline, just start, warts and all. Make mistakes, because mistakes are the best teachers. Start messy, and you learn from experience. A year later you look back and you're like, what was I thinking? Okay, I'm never going to do that again. Or that was a good idea. Let me work on that more and craft that more. But I think no matter who you are, you're always going to look back and learn from, you know, some little stumbles along the way. You know, you don't get green lights with everything.
Yeah.
You know, so these obstacles pop up and you figure out how to get around them or change course and try something else. But you know, if you don't do anything, that, you know, nothing will ever happen.
Yeah.
So you have to just go for it and see what happens. You know, keep your expectations kind of realistic. You know, so you're not let down so hard when certain things don't work out. But that's life. You know.
Superb, absolutely superb. So what's next then for Trey and Eyeball?
Like I said, we're writing a new show right now. Our set list for our shows are we weave all our songs together, so it's like one continuous 45 minutes to an hour show. We just walk on and start playing, and each song is glued together with some kind of effects or something, and they just all run as one long piece. And so that's why it takes us a little bit to write, and that's what we're working on now. This will be our third show we've written, and we're probably halfway through with just the ideas, and 2 songs are kind of in the can right now. But so we're working on that, and our synth player is building a studio in his basement. He just moved to a new house, and so we're going to get that up and running. We'll be able to record whenever we want, which we're really excited about that, as any band would be. And maybe this studio session we were working on, we have the tracks that we did at the time, so we're gonna try and resurrect that and see what we can make of it. But you know, not too sure about that. But other than that, we're just on the playground writing right now, seeing what we could come up with.
So you haven't got any sort of gigs lined up at the moment then?
No, okay. We're just not ready yet. The COVID knocked us off course.
Fair play. Yeah, I think it has for so many artists and bands. You know, and I think the coming out of the lockdown is favoring the solo and the duo acts more, because venues just haven't got the cash to pay out for larger bands, you know. So
yeah, and they could practice in their bedroom the whole time. They didn't have to get together with 4 or 5 other people. So they were ready day one, kind of.
True.
You know?
Yeah, true. Okay. So out of all of this then, I mean, you mentioned the barn with the drum kit and having your hair cut, but you know, so was it just that drum kit that inspired you at the beginning, or was there somebody that inspired you?
Yes. Well, I'm at the age where I remember the very first day of MTV. You know, there was nothing like that. There was the radio, and so I was there on the first day and I watched it, and I got to see bands. They were just real exciting, like, you know, a lot of kids had witnessed. And I could actually watch the drummers and see how they played. You know, they cross their hands over, you know, the things they did. I was like, that is so cool. I was just kind of drawn to the drums. And then I was going through my father's albums. There was like about a 2-hour window before he came home from work. I came home from school, and then 2 hours later he would come home. So I was going through his forbidden album collection, and I discovered a live album from Rush, Exit Stage Left album. And I put that on, and it just blew my mind. So that was like the moment where I noticed music, because before that it was whatever's on the radio. I kind of just didn't really have an opinion either way. It was like, oh, this is popular. This is what you're supposed to like. Yeah. But when I heard that Rush album, that was life changing. And of course, you know, there's a drum solo on there, and that was like the coolest thing in the world. And so from then on, I wanted to be a drummer. And Rush and the Beatles were the 2 bands that sort of, I know they're kind of almost opposites of each other as far as, you know, complexity, but one showed me one way and one showed me the other, and I've embraced both.
Yeah, I remember hearing Geddy Lee's voice for the first time, and it was just like, what am I listening to? You know what I mean? Absolutely. Never heard anything like it before. But great
so
band.
Different.
Yeah. Okay, final question for you, mate. I ask everybody this one. Is there anybody you would like to thank for you being here musically now?
I guess my father for buying me that drum set. You know, that Christmas morning, never forget it. That was the best Christmas ever. And he was very supportive. You know, anyone who will let a kid learn how to play drums in a house that you live in, with having that kind of patience and putting up with that, I don't know how he did it.
Mm.
But it's like 2 years of that before I got the hang of it. Then I was off playing in bands.
Right.
So he love you, Dad. Thanks.
Superb, mate. And you didn't get into trouble for sneaking through his record collection then?
He ended up giving me that album.
Wow.
Yeah, because I kept wanting to play it. I listened to it every day after school, and then he found out. Yeah, and he just gave it to me. So
brilliant. Trey, look, thank you very much for giving me the time in the interview, and good luck with everything.
Thank you.
All right, take care, mate.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for having me on.
No worries. Cheers.
Bye.